David, you're also going to join us on or update us on what's going on with Wigton. What's happening there?
So Wigton just released their 2024 audited financials. Wigton's financial year ends on March 31, which coincides with the government's own fiscal year. With Wigton, we saw a 7% reduction in total revenue to $2.03 billion, and we saw a 24% drop in profit before tax, which was largely driven by the reduction in revenue. So revenue came down, and while finance costs and expenses were relatively in line, that 7% decline was quite significant to drive further declines as it goes on the income statement. What, in a sense, would have you described save Wigton in terms of its financial year was that they got a massive tax credit during the period, which resulted in the net profit going up by 172%, from about 368 million to 839 million J. Why did they get this benefit? So, two parts to the equation. Wigton would have been a subsidiary of the Petroleum Corporation of Jamaica prior to becoming a publicly listed company in May 2019. They made a claim to TAJ. They finally got that approval. So that's where they got that, recoverable amount back, which they're able to add as a tax credit to their income statement. And Wigton also benefited from the clarification in the tax rate that independent power producers like themselves actually are charged for their operations. So Wigton's audited financials last year came out pretty late, like 2 months extra late, like in July. And one of the key notes that was there was that they were, haggling with TAG to determine should they pay 30%, which is the rate that regulated companies like your banks, JPS, and other entities pay, or should it be the regular 25% that everybody else pays. So for 2023 period of Wigton, they were charged the 30% tax rate. For the 2024 period, they were charged at normal 25% rate. And we also heard the finance minister, bring that point across in Parliament in his March budget debate. So there's relatively lower production, and that tax credit is really what, saved Wigton's bottom line. But on a more significant note, we saw last week on the JSC that Wigton made a disclosure about adopting a new trading name. So for those who don't know, a company might have a particular registered name, but they have a trading name that persons know their business for. So for example, Emetros Consultants Limited, listed company, that's a registered name, but they trade under the brand of Apex Radiology. So Wigton has, adopted the new brand name of Wigton Energy. So company's registered name is still Wigton Windfarm Limited, but we adopted a new brand name, in a sense, or trading name of Wigton Energy to reflect their greater diversification or focus into energy-related projects. So we shouldn't forget, Wigton, has these different joint ventures with IEC Limited, not necessarily the one that's on the JSC right now, which is formerly Cibrading Group Limited, but IEC SPEI DBA Limited, which is associated with former director. Apologies, I just remember his immediately off the bat. I have to just check. Sir Nigel Davey. He resigned from Wigton recently. I think it was April. And Wigton also just has a new leader or new CEO, Gary Barrow, who was a chief operating officer of JPS for about probably 6-7 years. I retired last year, so Wigton has had a good number of changes recently. So having a CEO now, adapting a new brand name, they are pushing more in towards those other energy projects. They would have applied to I believe it would have been the generation procurement entity alongside applying to JPS for the different renewable energy projects to actually see if they can add, in this case, a new production site or add, in this case, a new renewable energy project to the grid, which means more business for them.
Mm-hmm.
And back in February, they actually signed an addendum with JPS to extend Wigton Phase 1 by 3 years. So they're going to try and repower Wigton Phase 1, but they extend that agreement for 3 years because Wigton only has one customer, which is JPS, which makes sense, but just highlighting that single point. So it's a pretty interesting year for Wigton, but reality is have a bunch of cash. They have I believe it's almost an acre of land out at Ferry Pen, the same area where you have Fesco and Tropical Battery. That's practically area right there on Ferry in St. Andrew. They are a piece of land right there. They're eventually planning to develop. They have stake in Flash Holdings, and they're doing these joint venture projects with SIEC. So have a couple of things going on. Haven't actually heard the new CEO speak at any new development or pronouncements as yet, but it should be interesting to see what is the plan going forward, because in the case of Wigton, which is the IPP, they cannot just go and find a piece of land and set up a wind farm. That's not how it works. They have to actually win a bid from the GPE, Generation Procurement Entity, in order to actually start a new phase of renewable energy project. So if Wigton actually wins that project this year, they can start to work on a new project, and by the next 2 years that comes on stream.
When do we expect a decision on that project?
Later this year. So nobody can get more than 50, I believe it's megawatts from that bid, because 100 megawatts up for available, and that's with the GPE. And that should come out later in the year. So the bids were unsealed back in April, and now it's just going through the technical process to see who should get what amount of energy to put to the grid through renewable energy facilities.
Okay, well, we'll count on you to bring us that update when the time comes, David.